So I don't have an update on my stepdad because I'm currently filming this Thursday night. Haven't been sleeping very well. I'm trying to sleep in tomorrow on Friday, but if I do a second video, I will keep you guys updated. But this video might be a bit scatterbrained. I feel like I'm going to cover a lot of different things within this video, but it's all in regards to the ever rising costs of video games and video game consoles and video game accessories. Now, yesterday, we of course talked about Xbox now getting into the mix when it comes to the rising cost of video game consoles and video game themselves. Essentially, now Xbox is starting to talk about $80 video games. Things probably like Call of Duty, larger Xbox titles are now going to be involved in that $80 price point. And I've seen a lot of discussion online about this, and I'm not necessarily saying that people are right or people are wrong. Really, I just feel like it's very opinion based at this time as far as like why all this sort of stuff is happening. You could sit there and blame tariffs. You could sit there and blame stuff like that. And we'll talk about those things as this video goes throughout. But I feel like there's a larger thing at hand here that is definitely sort of taking over when it comes to the video game industry. Now, one of the things that has spurned on from Xbox announcing their prices is a thanks Nintendo hashtag that has been going pretty viral over on social media, where people are now blaming Nintendo for what other companies are doing, such as Xbox, as in raising the price of the $80 game, because people are pre-ordering the Nintendo Switch 2 because people are indeed buying Mario Kart World at $80. And that's been a large conversation piece that has been spanning online. People are saying, oh, well, Nintendo is evil because they started the $80 standard edition version of the game, and now other companies are going to follow suit. But I don't know that that conversation really holds that much weight, because I feel like every different company is a different company. If all video games all automatically just went to $80, then sure, you could have that sort of conversation. But things like Donkey Kong Bonanza, things like Metroid Prime 4, those are still $70 games. And I honestly feel like a majority of the first party Nintendo Switch 2 games are going to be in the $70 price point. Now, you are more than welcome to be upset at the $80 price point. And honestly, I think it sucks ass. I don't like seeing $80 for a video game. But like I said, each individual company is in a different state as far as what they are doing. Whereas Nintendo, for better or worse, has a very diehard, dedicated fan base, has these fanboys who will sit there and say, $80, that's a great value for a single game and stuff like that. I don't feel like Xbox has that same sort of fan base, at least not anymore. And so because of that, you have to look at game prices throughout history. The $50 standard is, roughly 2 decades old. Before that, it was definitely more of a wild, wild west situation. But when you still see games that come in at $40, $50, $60, and then some games are of the higher tier point as well at the $70 or $80 price point now, I don't really think you can blame just one company for that. People like to blame PlayStation and Xbox for the $70 games, but 2K was the first company to do it. And did their games fall off a cliff or anything like that? No, they didn't. Now, the price I still think is ridiculous, and it definitely has major consequences, which we'll talk about in this video. But I think the blaming of Nintendo for what Xbox decided to do is just very nearsighted and is honestly very ridiculous. Each individual video game company has their own sort of metrics that they go on. Each individual video game company also is in a different market space than the other video game company. What one company does, the other company doesn't have to follow suit, especially when your Xbox generation that we are currently in hasn't been all that great. Now, this could be a way to drive people to Game Pass, but if you think Game Pass isn't going to go up in price, you're sorely mistaken. Then, of course, you have people saying, well, PlayStation's a great value now. $70 games and their systems haven't gone up. And oh boy, do I have some news for you, pal. Do I have some news for you? Because guess what? Those games are going to go up 100%. They are going to go up 100%. Not 100% over the cost, but they're going to go to $80 games as well because they see that the market is kind of shifting towards that. And all of these companies right now, they have this beautiful blanket that they can all lay on and they can all just snuggle up to, and this is their safety net, this is their blanket, this is their area of defense, and something that, oh, well, you can't refute this because this is what we said. And that's a twofold thing of tariffs and economic issues of rising costs of things. And when it comes to hardware and manufacturing hardware and stuff like that, okay, like I'll hear you out a little bit on the hardware side of things, but when it comes to actual games and actual game prices going up, don't talk to me about tariffs. Don't just leave that at the front door. You have digital options. You're charging the same for digital that you are physical. You can adjust those prices if you saw fit, but you don't. And the big thing about this tariff situation is that, yes, I mean, if you look at it right now, it's a very ugly situation. It is something that, is definitely costing people more money on certain things. And, who's to say what's going to happen a month from now, though? Who's to say what's going to happen 2 months from now, though? As we've learned with tariffs, they are something that's not necessarily set in stone. They are constantly evolving due to political issues and due to what is happening with different countries and stuff like that. Do you honestly think that if these tariffs are now abolished or they are slashed in half or whatever the case may be, do you honestly think that companies are going to walk back all of these prices? Do you think the companies are going to start doing cheaper games and, oh, well, the $80 game, that's no longer a thing because of tariffs, even though Nintendo told you that their pricing was without tariffs in mind and then adjusted all their prices and then said, hey, games may be even more. That $80 Mario Kart World was not necessarily because of tariffs. That was because they felt that it was worth $80. Do you honestly think that companies are going to walk all of that back if tariffs change? No, this is simply an excuse for the companies to use. Point blank, period. These companies are not, micromanaging their money to a point of where, they're in the red or something like that. Even Xbox is making money on third-party games and being a third-party publisher and being one of the largest, if not the largest publishers of like the past quarter and stuff like that. We know Nintendo put in their pocket over $4 billion in revenue for last year. These companies are not hurting for money. It's business. It's business, and the companies want as much money as they can get. And if people are willing to pay for these things, then they will continue to do these things. The only way things are actually going to change is if the video game industry starts to crater and then slows down dramatically. And that's something I've been preparing you guys for quite a while now. But remember, nobody listened to me. I was just a crazy old kook on my front porch, screaming, get off my lawn at the kids. But this is something that is happening. Video games, you have to look at video games and the growth of video games. And I feel like so many of these young bucks that talk about games online and stuff like that, like they don't realize how different the industry was in the 90s and the early 2000s as compared to now, because they love to just throw these blanket things at you like, oh, well, inflation, look at inflation would mean this, that, or the other. And like, that's such a stupid thing to me. It's such a stupid thing to me because you have to look at the strength of what your dollar got you during those time frames versus what your dollar gets you now, if you really want to have a conversation about that. Because even with inflation, wages have not gone up with the rise of inflation. They haven't. Just, you could look that up and see that that is a verifiable fact. So the problem doesn't necessarily lie in the cost of these things. The problem lies in the cost of everything else kind of in your life. I looked at an apartment that I lived at roughly 15, 20 years ago that I paid $500 a month for, that is now going for $1,500 a month, roughly 15 years after the fact. Have your wages gone up 3 times the amount that they went 15 years ago if you're an adult? No, the cost of living has gotten more expensive. The video game industry during the 90s, during the early 2000s, was not the same video game industry that we have now with investors and billions of dollars and stock markets and shareholders and stuff like that. The entire industry has shifted and become a huge conglomerate, just massive thing. And the thing about this growth is at some point in time, there's going to be dips and valleys. And I honestly believe we're about to get into a dip and valley because the average person is not going to be spending as much on video games in this year, the next year, and probably the next year, depending on the economy, depending on what they are trying to do. Are you trying to eat food or are you trying to play a new video game? Like, you're going to choose the food. You need food to survive. You're going to keep your light bill on or are you going to buy another video game? A lot of this, I feel, and this is just me personally, I think a lot of this is just stemming from greed, rising game costs that nobody really asked for the game costs to go up, inflated budgets and stuff like that. You're seeing the cracks of the foundation of the video game industry get hit every single day. It seems like there's more layoffs. Respawn just laid off a bunch of people. EA just laid off a bunch of people as a thing from Respawn. Now you're seeing it in video game journalism as well. The cracks are starting to show. People are getting laid off left and right. Websites are getting sold to other places. And now they're trying to rebrand and redo the image. Like, the video game industry is not in a great spot right now. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon unless there is a large course correction. But the problem is that these companies are going to push people so much. They're going to push people to the point of where they're no longer able to afford gaming things, and they're going to be more selective with what they buy. When you have this push to the digital future, do you honestly just, I like I said, this video is going to be all over the place, but I want to end the video on this question. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, and if you have, I am a fan of you because, that helps the algorithm and it makes me a little more money. Do you honestly believe that when the all digital future is indeed here, because it's coming, we all know it's coming, we all know it's knocking on your door, where you look at the Switch 2, the digital game cards, there's not going to be any third-party games hardly that are on the cartridge. Obviously Xbox and PlayStation are moving towards the digital age as well. Will the next PlayStation, will the next Xbox have a disc drive? Do you honestly think that the $80 games are going to magically disappear when we are in a digital marketplace only, where there is full control over this digital marketplace, where there's only one place to buy the video games, that either being on PlayStation's storefront, Xbox's storefront, or the Nintendo Switch eShop? Do you honestly think that you're going to see lower video game prices? Because if it's just because of what's happening in the economy and stuff like that, well, now you don't have to do an artwork. You don't have to print it on a piece of paper. You don't have to have a plastic box. You don't have to have a Blu-ray or a cartridge. Do you honestly think that those prices are going to start to come down again? Spoiler alert, they're not. And it's a larger issue of the industry as a whole. And the thing of it is like, I'm here for the ride. Like, I'm here for the good. I'm here for the bad. Because it's fascinating to see. It's fascinating for me to think that there are literally people working at major video game companies right now that saw COVID sales and thought, this is it, boys. This is it. We're going to make some good money now from here on out because of this one anomaly of a year where people couldn't leave their house, so they had to do something and they bought video games. They honestly thought that was going to keep transpiring. They honestly thought that was going to be the new normal for video games. And they're quickly realizing the fact that nobody spoke up and was like, yo, this is not sustainable. Let's just calm down. Let's enjoy this period, but let's realize that this is not a sustainable thing. This is not something that's going to last forever, clearly, because eventually people are going to get back out into the real world and they're going to spend money on things like vacations and other things and not being prioritizing video games because they're not stuck at their house anymore. Or maybe these people just thought that was going to be life from then on out. You would never leave your house. Like, it baffles me. It baffles me. But Get ready for the shit show, kids. Get ready. Because I'm ready, and I'll be talking about it along the way because I find things like this fascinating. And like I said, if you disagree with me on this, you think it's all because of tariffs, you think it's all because of greed, this, that, or the other, you think this is all Nintendo's fault, that is cool with me, man. Like, this is just my opinion. This is just how I see things as an elder individual in the gaming community. But people are allowed to have their opinions on things. So, give your opinions in the comments section down below. Keep it decent, don't get too crazy or whatever. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit that bell notification as well so you're not missing out on any uploads. Maybe there'll be another video today, maybe not. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.